Good evening. The important thing is I made it. So on the way, we are worried that maybe we'll be terribly late, but at least not too late. We'll get here. So I'm delighted, and I get very jealous when I come in front of young people. I get jealous because you're so lucky. You're lucky because you're born a few years back. Unlike us, in the prehistoric days, we were. I think the reason that I'm jealous, I see how powerful you are, the young people of this time. And I tell young people today are the most powerful generation in the entire human history. Not because these young people today are smarter than before. It's about the same. Smartness is the same. It's because you have technology in your hand, which no other generation ever had. Unbelievable technology. That gives you tremendous power. On the surface, you look just like another human being. But in reality, each one of you is a Superman and a Superwoman because of the power you get from the technology. So technology is an issue for me, excites me completely. People usually tell young people that you are the leader of the future. That's the standard way, say leader of the future. I try to repeat and emphasize that no, that's not true. Because you are leader already. So you don't have to wait for the future to become leader. A 15-year-old today is more powerful than probably 35-year-old of other generations. So what do you do with that power? That's the issue I raise. Because if you're not using that power, that will be wasted. So first, to feel that you have that power, the amazing power that no other generation in history ever had, and decide how you're going to make use of it. My story begins not about power. My story begins with frustrations. I was born in a country where in each direction you see it's a lot of frustrations, a lot of disappointments, a lot of things you wish didn't happen the way it happens. And out of this frustration, you feel you're a totally useless person. You cannot do anything. You have nothing that you can make a change, make a difference. The country went through famine. When I was teaching economics in the university right next door, people are suffering of hunger. 1974. So I felt all the theory that I teach is useless stuff. Has nothing to do with people's life. And I felt totally useless as a human being. I cannot be of some use to somebody. So that's what I was trying to do. Getting into the village next door to the university campus to see if I have any use for anybody else. And then I did tiny little things to find my worth. That yes, I have some meaning in my life. And I did things which I knew nothing about. When you're desperate, out of desperation you do things which you never thought about. So I'm sure you have been told how to plan things, how to set things, everything very clearly. But that's not what I did. I jumped at things without knowing anything about it because I just couldn't wait. And you heard about microcredit, which goes with me. People remember how it started with me. It was not a pre-planned thing. Simply, situation is so bad, you had to do something. And that situation is about loan sharking in the village, which is just next to the university campus. And it's so ugly. You feel so terrible that human being can be so heartless, so cruel to each other, giving tiny loans and take control of the full life of those people, turn into slaves because somebody gave you some loan, so he has the right to turn you into slaves. So you see it very clearly. It's not reading in the books. Just be there. You see the person who lends, you see the person who borrowed, and you feel totally important. You don't know what to do. Suddenly it came to my mind, I can do something. I can take care of this problem. It may be a global problem, who cares? But all I see, these people here, and I can solve the problem for these few people. The idea is, why don't I lend the money myself? If I lend the money myself, then they don't have to go to the loan shark. And the problem is solved for these people. And that's exactly what I did. I started lending money from out of my pocket. It's not a planned thing, calculated thing. And that's the beginning of the whole story of lending money. Then the battle became with the banks. They will not open their door because I ran out of my money because it became so popular. Everybody wanted to borrow money. Who doesn't? And in the process, I exhausted all my money. So I thought, why don't I go to the bank and let them do this? They refused. So my struggle began to convince banks, which I never could. Now it's about 38 years after I first began. I still couldn't convince the bankers. So now I look at the whole system, what we call economic structures, conceptual framework, and all that. And I feel how wrong they are. And that's again my complaint. We read about it, we study it, we take it so seriously. But I feel it's designed in such a wrong way. Because you look at the theoretical framework of the capitalist system, you immediately find out the misrepresented human being in the theory. In their theory, human being turned out to be a money chaser. All they do in their lifetime, chase money. It's a money-centric, profit-centric world. So the entire theory has been built on the selfishness of human being. I said, that's wrong. Human being is not all about selfishness. Human being is not one-dimensional being. Human beings are not money-making robots. That's not their identity. Theory has diminished human being, made into a small thing, a robot. But real human being is very big. Way bigger than what the theoreticians imagine. It's a multi-dimensional being, not one-dimensional. I said, just to take example, I said, theoretician took the selfishness in human being, built the whole theory out of it. They forgot the same human being is also selfless human being. That selflessness was never allowed into the structure that they built. So they're left out. So if you want to be selfless, why don't you go and become a philanthropist? I said, no. Philanthropy is a different thing. I'm talking about the business world. Why can't I use the selflessness in the business world? And that's what I did without knowing about it. When I started working with the poor people, particularly poor women, I see so many problems around them. And I jump at doing something about it. Again, knowing nothing about it. So every time I see a problem, I create a business to solve that problem. It became a habit with me, and I created so many businesses. But a very different kind of business. People become curious. Why do you do that? It's not a business. I said, yes, it's a business. What do you mean by business? It has to be sustainable. That's what the quality of business is. So whatever I do is sustainable. There's a two-way flow. There are expenses, there are inflow, income, and so on. And I call them social business. That's the story that took turn. One is the microcredit part, and another is the social business part. And I created a lot of those social businesses. Then something happened when we are trying to get all the young people from Grameen families. We have 8.5 million families in Grameen, all poor families. We gave them all the encouragement to go to school because their parents are absolutely literate, all of them. We said illiteracy stops with their parents' generation. Second generation coming out in the Grameen families must be literate. We did everything possible to make sure it happens, and it happened. We sent them to school. We gave them scholarships. We gave them all kinds of encouragement, and then started giving education loans so that they can go to the higher education. As they start coming back from schools with higher education, they get very frustrated. Where's my job? There's no job in Bangladesh. Very difficult for a poor young man or a young woman to find a job. In the beginning, I have no answer to that question, where is my job? Then I turned the question into another question. The moment say, we don't have jobs, what do we do? And I said, who said you have to have a job? Did your school tell you that you have to have a job? Did your teacher tell you? Did your textbook tell you that you have to have a job? How did this idea of job got into your head? They get very puzzled. Aren't you supposed to have a job? I said, you are young people of this generation. You're lucky young people. Job is an old-fashioned idea. People who didn't know anything, they thought about the jobs. The real human beings don't run after jobs because it's an artificial thing. Job is an artificial thing. Real human being is a go-getter. Real human being is an entrepreneur. It's in the DNA, it's in the blood. But somehow theory pushed them into wrong direction. Seek jobs. I said, you change your mind. Tell yourself again and again, every time you get a chance, I'm not a job seeker, I'm a job creator. And be a job creator. Think like a job creator. Behave like a job creator. As a job seeker, you become small. You are at the mercy of somebody else. As a job giver, you are at the top. Why should you have a job? To start your life as a creative human being, full of energy, full of capacity. Start at the very bottom. Nobody gives you a job at the top. They give you at the bottom, no matter what it is. So all this energy, all this creative power is squeezed into tiny little thing to find a little job. Do the routine things. That's not the destiny of a young man, young woman. Young man and young woman should start at the top and use all the creative capacity and change the world. They get very puzzled. I don't have a job, he's making joke with me. So I said, it's not a problem. Look at your mother. 20 years back, 25 years back, even 30 years back, she took a loan from Grameen Bank. $30, $25. She was shaking like this. Couldn't believe that anybody could trust her with such an enormous amount of money. That's her life. She dared to take this money in her